What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're going to jump in with some Destiny 2 new stuff to talk about, and some of this will be links for Forsaken, some of it is more current Destiny 2 news, but we've got some words about gear relevance, and this links to the summer event that we'll be seeing next month, and I want to talk about that as well as some potential hidden gear. But for the Forsaken DLC, I want to talk about a few changes in the tower. We've got some clarification about gear and equipment in the expansion, Year 1 activity upgrades, system overhauls and changes, including some new insights about multi-deleting shaders, and I wanted to round up a whole bunch of bits of clarification and insights about the Gambit game mode. So as always, there are a few things to talk about in this video. Let's jump straight into it. So a few days ago, Bungie did an interview with PC Gamer for the Forsaken DLC coming up on September the 4th, and while they were talking about gear relevance, of course we've learned that you can infuse gear up to Year 2 levels, but some of the attributes, random rolls, mods and things like that will actually only function on the Year 2 gear. On that subject, Scott Taylor said, "We are very comfortable saying that if you're working on faction rallies right now, or the things that are coming in the summer, that'll still totally be worth it because you'll be able to bring that stuff into new content. We do have a lot more details to talk about there, but we can definitely assure people that that'll be the case." So not necessarily news in itself, but of course the interesting statement is that he says the things that are coming in the summer. And obviously this is reference to the Solstice of Heroes event. Normally when we have live events in Destiny 2, it does tend to be pretty heavily Eververse focused and focused around cosmetic items that you can acquire. But obviously that statement suggests that it will actually have some gear that we can collect in that update, because Scott Taylor of course is referring to the redundancy of any of the stuff that drops in that event. So it's more or less clarification that there will actually be some meaningful things to obtain, and this is starting to make a little bit of sense. Of course it hints to weapons and actual armor in the event, but there are a few things we haven't got from the Warmind expansion yet. A big one of course is Black Spindle. We spent a lot of time speculating where it would come from, whether it was time gated. Of course it's possible that there's something blocking it from dropping in the game right now, but it's looking increasingly likely that this will be reserved for the Solstice of Heroes event. That is less than a month away at this point. There's also the Stark Baffler ship. This is the Warmind themed ship. A lot of us speculated that this would drop from one of the Nightfalls. I did hear some people say that it had dropped this week in the Nightfall, but I literally haven't seen a single screenshot which generally indicates that isn't the case. And of course there is the Iris Pulsator shell as well. So these are 3 exotic items that we can't currently find in the game, and as I mentioned, it's looking very likely that they will feature in the Solstice of Heroes event, especially considering we got confirmation of gear relevance between the summer event and the Forsaken expansion just a few weeks after that. So as a quick reminder, Solstice of Heroes, which is yet to be revealed, we don't really know the theme of the event, will arrive on July 17th, and this will be alongside an update for Destiny 2 that brings permanent rumble, permanent 6v6, the return of bounties as well as prestige raid lairs. If you've missed any of that stuff, I will link the roadmap for Destiny 2 below. But let's get on to a couple of Forsaken things. So of course, spoiler alert, if you'd missed it still at this point, Cade 6 is going to die in this expansion. I was chuckling about the bit before, not the Cade dying bit. But we get a bit of an insight here. They talk about what they wanted to do, the reasons that they've taken Cade out of the game. We've spoken about that stuff before. But then Scott Taylor adds on, we are taking him out of the tower, and the tower is going to show that he's not there. So there is the boring technical element of how are we going to move things around, but we are addressing those concerns. Things will continue to function, things will change or will evolve, but the tower, Zavala and Akora have to deal with this just like we do. So we'll learn about how the tower and the people that live there, the Vanguard, deal with this as well. So just as a bit of clarity, they will be reworking the stuff in the tower that currently includes Cade. You have things like Cade's treasure maps, the flashpoint rewards for the week, and any other quests that may include Cade as well. And Bungie are going to have to rework all of that stuff. Of course, we don't know yet because we haven't played, but it seems likely there will be some sort of replacement for Cade at some point. But further on the subject of the Forsaken DLC, Scott Taylor did confirm the Forsaken story will be influenced by the events of Destiny 2 Vanilla. And he also alluded to the roadmap, the cinematic roadmap that we've seen. Chris Barrett also mentioned this, and they're basically saying this is very much intact and up to date. But Scott Taylor added that Forsaken will tee off the future story inside of Destiny 2, the one that follows Forsaken. And of course we are expecting to get that Savathûn DLC at some point, unless of course that ends up being Destiny 3 itself. But there are some potential links here. We've seen Taken in the Dreaming City, the homeland of the Awoken. I spoke about it yesterday. Of course it doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense for this place to be packed with Taken enemies, So there's potentially something going on there between Aldrin and the Taken, but their presence only further suggests the presence of Savathun as well, a character which we will ultimately come to face at some point in the future. But it did clarify there will be new activities exclusive to the Dreaming City. So these are things only happening in this space. We haven't had reveals for these yet, but some of these activities will be the things which are affected and changed over time by the folks who are playing through the raid. They have, however, said that they don't want to give us any more details on how that will work yet, but we got some clarification about Year 1 stuff. So an interviewer asked, will the Year 1 Leviathan raids and escalation protocol be brought up to the new difficulty levels? And Scott Taylor said no announcement just yet, but he did clarify, of course, you can infuse the gear up to Year 2 values. He added something interesting though. We've confirmed 2 more raid lairs for Year 2, but we're not currently saying where they'll take place. The first raid will be housed in the Dreaming City, but that's all we're talking about for now. So it's pretty interesting. Potentially we'll see raid lairs actually happen somewhere else outside of the Dreaming City or outside of the same location as the first raid. This kind of links to what Chris Barrett had said previously about the annual pass for Destiny 2, because he said we aren't planning on shipping new planets, entirely new locations, but you will visit places you haven't been to before. Which is kind of a bizarre statement because of course it suggests a new location, but is more than likely an expanded version or a new area on a particular location. So maybe we're going to see some of the raid lairs actually happen in different spaces. This could be based on feedback from the raid lairs we saw in the Leviathan, because of course they all happen in that same space. So interesting statement nonetheless, but Scott Taylor also clarified the director for the game is being overhauled. So of course this is where you see the maps, all of the locations and different activities, and he did say that they will of course be adding new locations onto the map. As well as this though, they will be working on the milestones. They'd previously suggested that more daily, weekly and monthly milestones will exist alongside the updated triumphs and new player titles earnable through various pursuits. So we're going to see a lot of overhauls right here. Also, player titles. I referred to this a couple of times, once in the vidoc and once in an interview, titles that you can earn by completing certain triumphs. Really hoping these will be titles that you can actually see above the name on the character. It's possible we have seen other UI overhauls, such as the addition of power levels appearing next to enemies. And this is a really great feature in my opinion. It's a pretty basic feature to have. But when you think about it, you know, as you move through an activity like a raid, you do see different power levels. Same in the escalation protocol, the waves that you play at the very beginning will be different to the ones you see at the end. And so it's good clarification for a player, you know, they may go into a 370 activity, for example, and they might be 370 when they enter, and then are possibly wondering why they're getting their ass handed to them at the final boss. So just solid quality of life improvements, but I'm hoping that will extend to those player titles that Bungie have referred to numerous times now. Now though, just a few more things. We did get clarification from PC Gamer that the collections tab will of course be the place where every piece of legendary exotic gear, ghosts, sparrows, all of those kind of things will be housed, and you'll be able to pick these up in exchange for specific materials. Scott Taylor has also confirmed that legendary shaders will work in a similar way, so they are going to be featured in the collection. You can grab them at any time. On top of this, they confirmed that you will be able to delete multiple shaders at once, presumably the ones which are actually in your inventory, and so that's a pretty interesting system as well. Because of course shaders right now, a lot of them at least, are tied to Eververse. They are generally meant to be a way for Bungie to make more revenue in the game, and so I'm wondering whether this is pointed towards these no longer being included in Eververse, or in fact the possibility that you might be able to spend silver dust, for example, inside of your kind of character kiosk collection that you walk around with. So that bit's going to be pretty interesting. I'm wondering how they'll deal with that, but either way, the important thing, the ability to take them out of the kiosk and the ability to multiple delete shaders, that is going to be here in September. But on the subject of Gambit, Robbie Stevens, one of the key designers for Gambit at Bungie, said, "We believe variety is an essential component to keep the mode fresh over extended play. So we're going to start out with 4 maps, 3 races per map, and 3 variations of each race on each map. And this means a total of 36 Gambit experiences, or at least 36 different potential versions of, you know, different enemies, different rounds on different maps. So it's just a bit of an insight into what we can expect to see there. In terms of the Gambit maps though, we have seen the EDZ map a lot. I do apologise, this is the one bit of Gambit gameplay that we've managed to get. So of course there will be the EDZ map. On top of this though, there is one at the Tangled Shore, presumably. It might actually be Prison of Elders. It's definitely in the Reef either way, and this one has a much more kind of fallen design language. Also, it's really cool that you can see the ship in the background. You can always see this ship on the Gambit map. I'd spoken before about how this is actually the ship that the vendor kind of flies around. But just in case you were interested, of course, different developers have been working with Bungie to develop content for Destiny. We know that Warmind Warmind was a Vicarious Visions co-production, so VV did a bunch of work on that expansion, but Scott Taylor confirmed we'd worked with High Moon Studios as collaborators for the Forsaken DLC. In particular, High Moon focused on the Tangled Shore and the new combatants, which are this kind of mutant zombie fallen race, but it adds that we were all deeply involved in most of the game, so just in case you were curious as to what High Moon had been up to on this expansion. But there we go guys, a bit of a roundup of different stuff in this video. It's going to be back to a normal couple of weeks I think of Destiny stuff, kind of in the more quiet time now. Maybe we'll get lucky in this week at Bungie this week and they'll drop some new details about some of these systems, but there will be a lot of news over the next few weeks, so it will be very interesting. And like I said, less than 1 month until we get that new summer event with a new update for Destiny 2, more exotic armor, sandbox changes and all that kind of stuff as well. So as I've said before, compared to a few months back, you know, while we were waiting for new content, there was all this negativity about the game. It's safe to say that the cadence of content and the quality of content, the important changes in the game, it's finally really starting to happen, which is nice. So guys, if you have enjoyed this video, a like is very much appreciated down below. Very much appreciate all of your recent support. Let me know your thoughts on any of this stuff in the comment section though. Check out my friends over at Gamerlink. They have a fantastic LFG app for Android and iOS. You can use it to look for teams for Destiny 2. So whether it's raids, trials, escalation protocol, all of that stuff is supported on there. On top of this though, it has really great clan features. You can build a persistent team, keep in touch with your clan, plan sessions and all of that kind of stuff. Plus if you use my code, you will get an awesome Houndish badge to use on your profile on the app. So if you want to check that out, the link for Gamerlink will be down in the description below. But also if you're new to this channel, be sure to hit subscribe to see a lot more Destiny 2 content. For now though, like I said, I appreciate you guys as always, and I will catch you very soon.